less than 24 hours. They get things in hours. Have you seen that online? The way the Amazon factory works?
I honestly haven't looked at it as much as I want to. I follow Jeff Bezos a lot, and as a business leader and mind, and thinker, he's incredible. But I did listen to a audio book this morning, and so I think the first drone delivery was 13 minutes from order in UK. And everyone, I think even Seinfeld was sort of cracking jokes about this drone delivery thing and how it was just a nonsense. And I kind of agree. I thought at the time, this, what's the dog going to do when the drone lands out the front? And the Doberman's wondering what this contraption is, dropping off a box of fruit or what. How is that going to work?
I heard someone say, it was an American thing. Rednecks were like, "Let's go hunting today." Like, what'd you get, Pa? Got a package, got a new package, bang, bang, shooting it out of the sky.
Yeah, well,
the Amazon factory was really interesting. Imagine a bunch of Roomba floor vacuuming robots. Well, they look exactly like that in a warehouse that's just, you can't even see the end. And these things are like little circles that move on a huge grid. And at the end of every, the end of this 200-metre building, are a string of people who are just getting the packages or whatever these things are and throwing onto C421 circle, and that disc ends up at whatever destination down at the end of the other factory to go into that truck to go there. It's just like millions of things every day. And
it's non-stop too. Obviously at midnight that thing is still moving, it is a scary scenario. And, those people that are doing that last part of the process won't be there, in 12 months. That's what worries me is if everything's automated, what are the customers going to have to use to spend their earnings on? They're not going to have jobs, so then there's no customers. So, I think, the argument against, being scared of computers and so on is new jobs will come about, and I think that's true. But this is a new type of threat in that, you have artificial intelligence now, and so that, it's arguably going to be more intelligent than the best human you can hire, and they don't sleep, they don't need, sick pay, they don't have babies. So, we're going to invent ourselves out of a job and out of customers. So where we're headed is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like we haven't had I don't even like saying the word, but a real catastrophe that takes down electricity. Every single thing we do is related to electricity. So the Amazon factory, let's just say they had a catastrophe. Everything from the trucking, the delivery, not a single shred of paperwork can even be printed. Where is that going to go? All of a sudden, if that was to happen, everyone would spin out, okay, we need to have some sort of paper trail again. We need to go back to that. But because we are so far removed from that now, like, the Coles truck, even if my wife wants to get something delivered by Coles, every single thing that's stocked in the shop was via electricity, the phone, and no one's even handing you pieces of paper anymore. You sign the little thing on his little quack there off his belt, and we have no reason to even be scared that the power will cut out.
Well, I've actually had that same worry, and like I think to myself, like, yeah, okay, if the power doesn't come on for 2 hours, and then like the internet's off, like what would happen over the next week, in your community? And I always sort of think, well, what would you do? I mean, in many ways, you're actually going to suddenly meet your neighbours. You're suddenly going to come back to the tribe that we all grew up in, or as our ancestors did, and so in many ways, it's going to might be a good thing, but at the same time, it could end civilization. So, it's amazing what could happen. And have you got a prepper plan? They call it preppers, don't they? They've got to have the generator. They've got, cans of baked beans lining up. And when I'm in the States, I love watching their ads. Like one of my favorite things to do is watch American TV ads. Those preppers just are fascinating to watch, Yeah,
I like what Bill Burr, the comedian, says though. He's, what you're really doing is preparing for the meanest guy in your neighbourhood to come and steal all that crap from you. It's all in here. Oh, no.
Exactly.
Find the preppers. They've got all the stuff,
This is it.
I love the idea though, man. I've actually found out some little things to eat around the Crumman Valley from that idea. Like, well, okay, let's pretend the shops are empty tomorrow. turns out you can eat this and this and this from the ground, you know.
Wouldn't it be amazing? I mean, just to go down that pathway for a minute, yeah, you would be growing avocado trees and tomatoes in the backyard. So the lawn suddenly becomes the vegetable patch. And I mean, I grew up in New Guinea where, you know, the local people live off the land and, you know, they would survive this scenario. We wouldn't. You know, they would carry on and the human race would continue, but it wouldn't be with us. They would know how to live. I guess we think we've got it made now with all of this technological stuff, but man, if something happens, like, you know, it still takes 2 or 3 months to grow something in the backyard. So in 2 or 3 months, you've starved to death anyway.
Yeah. There's that historian Graham Hancock, very well known for talking about how there's every chance that, well, it's kind of growing fact now that one of the oldest buildings in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, I think it's like it was covered over with stones 12,500 years ago. He's proving to everyone that a massive, possibly a meteor, hit us. You know, 12,500 years ago, and it brought on the Ice Age. But just like we do now, all the big brainiacs live on the coasts. So the first thing that happened is all the big cities back in the day were flooded, leaving all the poorer people that live inland. And, you know, like your Papua New Guinea, people from Papua New Guinea who actually can live off the land but don't have all the knowledge that we have on making batteries and whatnot. It's probably could have happened 15 times all over. And particularly the Ice Age can grind down Q1 in the matter of 100 years just with ice shifting on top of every single living thing can be gone. Only leaving whatever is high on the peaks. But generally that's not IBM. This
is it.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Oh, I love that sort of thing, you know, and like as a story, like our species is, I think at one stage we were down to like less than 1 million. It might have been less than that I think we were, you know, the last, you know, the remaining humans, and obviously our population came back. But yeah, I mean, It's awesome that there are all these mysteries, you know, and that there are these, interesting theories about it, and hopefully, hopefully there's no more meteors coming, you know. But if we get to Mars and we can go interplanetary, then we can survive and we can continue to flourish, and maybe we'll have merged with machines by then. So what we look like today is nothing like what we'll look like in 100 years' time, and yeah, it's that stuff, mate. I love it, and it's fascinating to talk about.
You got kids? Can I ask?
Yeah, I got 3 kids.
Yeah. So do you ever worry about, you know, I've got kids? Like what? You can't even imagine it. I'm sure when our parents had us, it was kind of the same. You know, you still had this and that, and TVs. You know, These kids might see the wrong thing on TV, and that's it. Now, wow.
Yeah, look, I think. I said to my wife the other day, like, our children will not drive cars. Like, by the time that my eldest, who's 8 now, is driving cars, it'll be an automated vehicle. So all the experiences that we had, they won't have, or they'll have new things to deal with. And it's, you know, I worry a little bit about what the world is. Someone said to me once that, you know, 1994 was the peak of society, and ever since that year we've sort of declined, you know. And I thought, maybe that's correct. You know, if you think about the traumas and some of the problems that we're experiencing now, maybe that was peak life.
Over information, knowing too much. Yeah, you know what I've picked up recently is that you remember growing up, everyone had a hotted up car. Everyone's mate were putting on some stupid mag wheels, you know, and a bit of noise. So, but what they were really doing was creating who they are in all the little things they do. So, people still do it with motorbikes now. I think that's the last. You know, when was the last? Even in Japan, they've stopped creating these like ridiculous cars.
Yeah, I know.
So the new teenagers are more robotic than back in the day, it feels to me, or am I just old? You know what I'm saying?
Look, I think I think Instagram is a life competition, you know, and so that as long as it happened on Instagram, then it happened, and if it didn't happen there, then it didn't happen. That seems to be a lot of the problem at the moment, and like just having your kids playing in the backyard, getting mud on them. I mean, that doesn't seem to happen as often as it should. And, you know, my second youngest, he loves his computer. He's in, you know, Minecraft. And I look at him, I think, man, he's learning so much on this platform. But, like what they're going to go through and what they do and what trends over the next couple of years. But no one knows. I mean, it's really hard to say. And as long as there's constructivity, I think that's the key, isn't it? You know, like if we're not moving forward in that creative sort of way, then that's what worries me.
Hey, I feel like Carlos, come on over. Let's nerd out for, we're both busy today. Let's nerd out for a little bit. For anyone listening, on some, here's graphic art tech gear, nerd out, right? So if you can explain to us, Paul, how you would start to do something, Carlos.
Yeah.
How are you, champion?
Good, mate.
If you were to design something, what are you using at the moment? And then we'll throw to Paul on how what's your favourite style. Just what your favourite way is.
Depends what I'm doing, really. I mean, I make video, I do music, I write, and I graphic design, and I do a whole bunch of other creative stuff. So it's quite interesting for me to sit here and listen to Paul talk about the egg that you go into to create, because I do the same thing. I can have people around me all day and all night, and I'm just waiting for them to leave. You know what I mean? So I can then go into the room and basically close the door and put on a little red lamp and a pair of headphones and boot up the computer, and then I'll sit there till 7 a.m, and by the end of it I'll come out with something that I think is perfect. It's absolutely riddled with mistakes, but the fetus is out in the idea, so to speak, and then I can look at it the next day after I sleep for a few hours and fix it. And that can be, as I said, music, film, writing. It's funny, the subjects you guys were just talking about there about society and where we're going. I'm writing a book at the moment. I have that music. I do a lot of my creation under the name Greasy Belcher. So I've been writing for a music mag down in Sydney, just about politics in the future and where society's going. And I'm working on a book at the moment called The Guide to the Apocalypse, which has been serialised in the Unbelievably Bad. And doing videos for the bands, do a couple of different music projects. It's just a lot of fun. Depends. You can use pen, paper, pencil, iPad, whatever. I mean, But I like the idea of what you were saying about just creating that comfort space where you're in, because it is important. Because you do have a tendency to lay there or sit there or just warp for 5 or 6 hours, and you can stand up 8 hours later after creating something, thinking, "Man, I'm in bad shape now." So to be able to get that working is going to be something I'd like to see.
Yeah, well, I think it's. I find more and more I'm doing most of the SketchUps in my mind. So a lot of the time, like when I first started doing graphic design, I would sketch with a pen. I still do that occasionally, but if I can go to the computer when that is in my mind, and I've already actually resolved a few of those crucial decisions prior to hitting the computer, the time is just shrunk down. So you can turn the thing, because people want stuff yesterday. Like if a client says to me, "Oh, I need a new logo, can you do it by Wednesday?" Usually it's done in the car driving down to get a coffee, and then if I go to the computer to sit down and do it, there'll probably still be a few steps to go. But it's if it's that input method, and if you can do it in a comfortable sort of environment without distraction, then you're gonna get that job done better.
Yeah, and your environment. I used to be at playgrounds, and I used to be a foreman on a company that built playgrounds, and we used to. We built one in like Nickelodeon one day, and it was just this. You could go down one from floor to the other by the staircase, or they had a big round slide, and it was all just stuff to take the creative people who work there, to take their mind off the bull of the BS of what they were doing all the time. So you know what? I'm just going to stand up. I'm going to leap on this slide. I'm going to come rolling out across the floor, go and play the PlayStation for half an hour. And then I'm going to feel like I wasn't in work for 10 minutes, and the idea will have formulated in my head, and I'll be ready to just create it. You know?
Like a lot of design firms have a ping pong table for that exact reason. Let the creative person change gears in their mind.
Yeah.
Go and play a game of ping pong, come back, and then suddenly, the idea's there. So it's definitely a good idea.
Yeah.
But to get back to the nerd tech, which I find pretty interesting, because like we had this little thing before you walked in. All I know how to use is Photoshop and a little bit of Illustrator. Okay. But my cousin downstairs, he's a Corel drawer sort of guy. So we aren't graphic artists like you by any stretch. But just say I was to come to you, and what's your tool of choice, and how do you do it?
Yeah, so my tool of choice, let's say I want to design a T-shirt. So ordinarily, I'll have a bit of an idea in my mind, and my first port of call is usually Illustrator. And so Illustrator is a vector program, so it's without getting super